All right, hello once again. This is Jeff Scott from Jeff Teaches Programming. And just an FYI, I'm going to go and kind of break off from what I've been doing lately. I had finished the second version of the C# payroll application. And what I want to do now is, like I said, break away a little bit and talk a little bit about the concept of arrays. I do want to mention, and I've said this, I think I said this earlier, in one of the earliest videos, but I do want to mention to you that if you go out to Microsoft.msdn.com or msdn.microsoft.com, it's now called learn.microsoft.com. I went out there and just did a search for arrays, and they've got this programming guide, and I went through it, and it's pretty good. All right, and there's a whole bunch of other stuff that you can get onto it as well. All right, but remember, if you, like I said, if you just do come in and it's either, I always just know it as msdn.microsoft.com. All right, if you put that in, again, it pushes you over to learn.microsoft.com. And you can search for just about anything, and not just C#, but that's what this course is about, so that's what I've been doing. Also, just to mention real quick, there's another site. W3schools.com is just a terrific site. Back when I was teaching full-time, I'd use it for almost everything I would teach. But there's a whole C# tutorial in here, and they've got a thing on arrays as well. It's a really nice place to start. It's very, very, very basic. All right, so with that said, let's just jump over. Sorry, I was doing something else here before. And let's get into a blank. I'm in my living room right now, so if you hear the clock behind me, sorry about that. Okay, years ago, I lived in an apartment complex by myself, and it was an 8-family unit. So this is what we're going to imagine right now. We've got 8 families in here. So in apartment 1, there will be me. And in apartment 2, there will be Mary Green. Be a lot of names with colors in here. So in apartment 3, there'll be John Smith. In apartment 4, there will be Gail Gray. In apartment 5, there will be Mike Jones. In apartment 6, there will be Kayla Black. In apartment 7, there will be Howard White. And in apartment 8, there will be, what have we used? Green, gray, black, white. I don't know. We'll say Lana Lang. Okay. One of Superman's old girlfriends. Okay. So we're going to suppose right now that this apartment is at 123 Main Street. It's not where it actually was, and it doesn't matter. We don't care right now. Oops. We don't care right now about the city, the state, or anything. The point is this. If I was going to get mail, ideally it would be addressed to Jeff Scott, apartment 1, 123 Main Street, or 123 Main Street, apartment 1. If Mary Green was going to get mail, it would be to Mary Green, apartment 2, 123 Main Street, or 123 Main Street, apartment 2, etc. All right. Now, depending on the mail person who is delivering stuff, if somebody accidentally sent something to Jeff Scott, apartment 7, let's say, 123 Main Street, would it go to Jeff Scott or would it go to Howard White? I don't know. I will tell you that where I live right now, the house that I live in, that I've lived in now for the last 8+ years, That house used to be a rental home, and there were a lot of people over the years who lived there. Why am I telling you this? Because I'm still getting mail for them 8 years later, which I personally think is ridiculous, but it's the way it is. All right, so what does this have to do with anything? Well, I'm going to do this. I'm going to say now, we're going to pretend that I'm your teacher and we had a test. All right, we'll say we had a C# test. All right, and that C# test was worth 100 points. All right, and again, we'll have 8 people in the class just to, in fact, let's make it we'll make this a little smaller. We'll make it 10 people. So we'll have here, I'll do it like this. I'll say, let's not even give them names. We'll just say student 1, and student 1 got 100%. Student 2, and we're going to say they got a 93. All right, you can kind of see, I think, where I'm going with this, but I'm going to just copy this down. So that's 4, 6, 8, 10. Now, don't worry about it. I'm going to fix all of it in just a second. First thing I'm going to do is make this smaller so you can see all of it up here, okay? There. Now, we've got these students. Now, in many ways, this is a kind of an unrealistic, let's make it 0, 1, 0, 2, etc. Okay? In many ways, this is not very realistic. You know, you typically would have names or a student ID number. We could have done that, etc. All right, but I'm just going to leave it the way that it is for right now. All right, what am I trying to get across to you here? Well, first of all, let's give these students different grades. We'll say that this one got a 78, 56. This student totally bombed it and got a 12, 94. I'm making these numbers totally up. I'll give that one 100. That's fine. 88, 77, and I don't know, 90. Okay? Now, right here, I'm making, if I was going to do this, I'd make 10 different variables. And I could say something like this. I'm not going to write all 10 of them out, but I could say int student 1, student 01 equals 100. Int student 2 equals 93, etc. All right? And I'd have 10 different variables. Each one of those, even if they have the same number involved, you know, the same number. So we've got 100 here, and we've got 100 here, but they're not the same student. So is there a better way of doing this? And the answer is yes. If I knew these grades ahead of time, I could do something like this. And I'm just showing you this. And again, of course, this is not the only way of doing it, but I'm showing you a way of doing it. So I could come in here and say int bracket students, and if I knew the grades already, I could say equal. Then I could put in here 100, 93, 78, 56, 12. I'm going to run out of room, so I'm going to just put the rest on the next line, which doesn't hurt at all. 94, 100, 88, 77, and 90. So what have I done right here? Well, what I have is literally one variable, and that one variable has 10 different components. All right? And you might say, well, what's the advantage of doing this? I'm going to show you in just a minute, but what I want to get across here are a couple things. First of all, 10 variables. Each one has got to have a different name. Here we've got one variable that's called students. And by putting these brackets in here, we're saying that it's an array. And what is an array? Well, let's go back to what I just had shown you a bit ago. And as it says here, arrays are used to store multiple values in a single variable instead of declaring separate variables for each value. Now, if we did not know, one more time, if we did not know those student grades ahead of time, we could do this. But doing this, we could not do, for example, I wouldn't have two things called students, but let's call it students 2. We can't do this because the system needs to know how many students there are. Here we let it know there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 students. Here we didn't let it know, so we have to put a number in here. So if you're creating something and you're not initializing it, if you're not giving it an initial value or initial values in this case, all right, then you must give a number to the system so it knows how much space to allocate. This is allocating space for 10 different integers. So is this. The difference is this isn't initialized and this is initialized. Now, is there another way I could have done this? And the answer is yes. And I want to show you that as well. Again, I'm going to make this a little smaller, but we could have come in here and done this and said like int. After we did this, after we did this line right here, after we did that line, we could have come in and said students 2, 0 equals 100. Students 2, 1 equals 93, and done that all the way and put all these in there like this. The advantage, if you know ahead of time what values are going to be in an array, are to populate it like this, of course, because this takes 10 different lines of code, really 11 with that one, and here it takes really 1 line of code. But what I want to get across to you is this is one variable with, in this case, it has 10 components. And I'm making an array of integers. You can have an array of any of the variables we've talked about. You can have an array of floats. You can have an array of Booleans. You can have an array of strings. So if I had names, all right, so for instance, I could come in here and do string. Let's just do 3. 3 equals Mary, Jane, and Bob. That, again, is the same kind of way I could do this. I could say string, and I was wrong. I have to give it a name. So I'd have to say here names. All right, I could say string, and if I did that, I would not give it a number. You can, but it's not recommended. I could say string bracket, bracket, we'll call this names 2. And we could come in here now and say names 2, this is called sub or subscript 0 equals Mary. Names 2 sub 1 equals Jane. And names 2 sub 2 equals Bob. So I could do it like this if I knew the values ahead of time. And if I didn't, I could do it like this. All right. So again, you might be saying, okay, that's all fine and dandy. What's the advantage of doing this? All right. Well, how about this? Let's say that I had 100 students. All right. And let's say that I want to start with a brand new array and I want to make sure that each value in that array has a value of 0. Now I could come in and make 100 variables. I could say students or student 1, 0, 1 equals 0. Student 2 equals 0. And a dot, dot, dot just means I would keep doing this. All right, finally, until I got to student 99 equals 0. I could do that, but I've got to type in 100 lines of code to do that, which to me seems really ridiculous. Or I could do this. Still ridiculous, but I could come in here and say int students bracket bracket equals, and I could put this in here 0, 0, 0, 0. Now, you can't say dot, 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 but imagine that I did this 99 times and then 100 times. I could do that. That's pretty stupid as well, really. But what if I do this? All right, so you've seen these two, so I'm going to come in here and do it like this. What if I said int students, and we'll say call it students 2, and we'll say 100. All right, now what if I come in and say for, you can put anything you want in there, any variable. I like to use LCV because it's a loop control variable. For LCV equals 0, LCV less than or equal to, now I could say less than 100. I could do that, and it would work just fine. It would go from 0 to 99. But I can also say students 2 dot, let me pause this while my clock rings 12 times. All right, so what if I did this? I can say students 2 dot length and let the system figure out how big it is. That's the same thing. Since there's 100, it knows less than 100. So I'll say plus plus LCV. And again, this may not sound like a big thing, but just bear with me for a second. Now if I say students 2 LCV equals 0. Now what have I done? Now I've just initialized all 100 students to 0. And again, before you say big thing, not a big thing, what if I did this? Now I've got 1,000 students that I have just set all of them to 0. All right, arrays work hand in hand very, very, very well with looping mechanisms, especially for loops, if you know how big your array is going to be. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to write a couple programs here that I have already written, but I'm going to write a couple of them here. The first one, not real long. I guess they're both long enough. Let's put it that way. But what I want to do is this. I want to show you a few things here. And I'm actually going to stop and do this one as a different lesson in just a moment. All right. But what I want to show you is this. I'm going to go and create an array that's going to have 25 numbers in it. All right. And those numbers, they'll be between 1 and 100. I'll make them 0 and 100. It really doesn't matter. Let's say it's a test. All right, so our minimum test score will be 0. Our maximum test score will be 100. And we're going to initialize the array with 25 random numbers. Then we'll sort the array automatically in ascending order. Then we'll sort it again in descending order. Then we'll get the smallest array element, followed by the largest array element, followed by the sum of all the array elements, followed by the average of all the array elements. So imagine again we were doing some kind of a program where we had students and we want to do some stuff on the test scores. So that's what we're going to do here right now. All right. So we're first going to do this as a console application, and then we'll come back and do the same thing, but we'll do it as a GUI application. All right, and you're going to see how slick it'll be, and it'll allow me to show you a few things, most of which I've talked about already, but probably not all of them. So I'm going to stop right here. We're only at about 20 minutes. Whoops, we're at around 20 minutes or so. Yeah, pretty darn close. So we'll stop here. We'll pick it up, and we will write that one right away. And you're going to see me do everything. And I'd said I was going to do this before. I'm going to try to promise. All right. I'm actually taking this computer that you're watching this stuff on. It's an older computer. I'm phasing it out. I want to bring in my newer computer that I've got. Hopefully that'll work okay. So I'll see you in a few.